Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we're going to be covering a load of stuff on ranking. If you remember the series that me and Juana did, the reality of the cold start, a lot of people said quite difficult to take in. So what we've done is taken very complex information and now we're breaking it down on the board to simplify it so you're able to walk away and apply this. And if you use this methodology, it will go across various different problems that you face within your business, from stockouts to deleting ASINs, resetting ASINs, etc., honeymoon periods. We'll cover it here. I'm going to bring Juana in, but we're going to keep these very short. We're going to try and do them in about 10 minutes. And then that way they're little snapshots and then you can utilize those. And then each week we'll be covering different areas and applying it to other parts of ranking itself and some of the problems that you face. All right, Juana, are you ready to drop some bars?
100%. Let's go.
So, as you said, part one, we're going to cover here in the first part that is related a lot to the papers and when we drop the article, but then we're bringing it in to simplify the language. So, Juana, let's start with initial prior predictions.
Initial prior predictions. Just keep in mind that the images that we are going to look at are just fragments in order for us to help you explain how these combined work as part of an algorithm loop system. Initial prior predictions. Think about it like this. When you add a product on Amazon for the first time, it has no history on it. So how will Amazon know how to calculate your rank if it has no user interaction? And at that point, what Amazon does, it picks up existing products on Amazon and looks at their past performance, comparing and matching them with your product by utilizing the attributes and the similarity between existing products on Amazon that do have history in your product. At that point, what an initial prior prediction is, it's actually a best guess utilizing information that has worked in the past in order to assign you a position on the rank. But the beauty of how the algorithm works doesn't stop at just guessing. And that is where the posterior predictions kick in. Because as soon as your product hits the search, it starts gathering user interaction, right? Some type of behavior, whether it is clicks, scroll on the pages, bounce off, and even purchases, right? All that is utilized at this point to calculate your posterior, because at this point, Amazon has some information on it. All this interaction data that Amazon has on your product gets stored into the item data storage. And think about your item data storage as sort of a memory bank where Amazon calculates your product's performance on the search and how shoppers interact with your product. All that information gets stored and then looped back into the algorithm in order to calculate your new ranking and refine your positions on the search.
All right, let's bring this in with the Bayesian formula.
So in the article, you will see, and as we mentioned, we work off two patents, the 2022 and the updated version from 2023, November 2023. A main difference that we saw, and very important to point out, is the calculation of a posterior prediction utilizing the Bayesian formula, which is almost, I would say, a refinement that the algorithm does in real time, utilizing the recent user interaction that our product that we just launched on Amazon started gathering, alongside with the prior prediction, to calculate your posterior by utilizing the Bayesian formula. Now, again, as this gets shown on the search and Amazon gathers information, which again gets stored into item data storage, all that gets fed back into the system in order to refine and recalculate once more your ranking, utilizing, I would say, moving away from what is like a guess and utilizing real user interaction.
So using real data. All right, let me summarize this up. All right, so we discussed you get initial prior estimate. Now, this is the initial best guess, which is taken from attributes, which is for similar performing products. Then it gets a calculation. So you get the initial best guess plus the recent data, which gives you a new estimate. And if it's a new product, it will create the posterior. After that, it will refine the posterior over time, which is based on a frequency as per the empirical Bayes 2022-23 paper, and anywhere between 2 hours to 24 hours, depending on the data size. Example, new product has less information after the initial, the prior prediction takes place, utilizing third-party products that are similar in performance. Let's say you've been on Amazon 2 years, you go back out of stock, and it comes back into stock. You've still got all that history and the previous position of the posterior. Then we'll start the clock again, updating. But of course, it's on a larger data set. So you may get 24 hours out of it. All right, let's go through this. You want to kick off with the 80-20 and how things are weighted?
Exactly. I suggested utilizing the 80-20 because it's easy for everybody to understand, but we don't know exactly what the exact percentage is. It
Absolutely.
might be 70,
That's
30,
not in the
70,
literature. We're just based on extrapolation from it. There is a weighted formula of some kind. So we just be clear on that. Okay, Juana, go on.
Exactly. Exploitation versus exploration. Now, what we know is that Amazon weights more real user interaction rather than the tests that they can do. Why is this important for you to understand? Because it might seem like, yes, of course, Amazon relies mostly on user interaction, on real user interaction data. Well, it makes sense because when your product gets added for the first time on Amazon, even if it gets, I would say, a privileged initial prior prediction calculated based on bestsellers, it will never be a bestseller the first time that it gets added to Amazon. More or less, it might not even hit page 1 based on what we saw and how crowded the category is.
All right, so let's bring this all together. Again, and the initial best guess, recent data, and we'll discuss the Bayesian update. So initial best guess is taken, okay? And then it's taken from attributes of similar performing products. Then data arrives, real data. Example could be clicks and conversions, which is under the form of a behavior if we zoom back 10,000 feet. And then here we've got the calculation. So we've got the Bayesian update, which is the initial best guess, the recent data, which then gives you a new estimate of a posterior that is always being refined. As we mentioned earlier, it loops here as of the 2023 November patent from the update. And then it has a time clock, a time frequency, which can be anywhere between 2 to 24 hours as per the empirical Bayes paper. And so when we look at this, a product, if we look at it in the traditional sense of the honeymoon period, and as technology is improved, rankings are updated a lot more frequently. We've got a lot more real-time data. That's without even going fully into AI. What you see now as a honeymoon period through observations, if you understand how this works, effectively it doesn't exist unless you consider 2 to 24 hours, which isn't much time. All right. Last bit of this. So initial best guess, recent data, new estimate. That's all you got to know. It's that simple because we try to break it down. Obviously, it's much more complex than that. Now you're going to say to me, Dan, my observation is X, Y, and Z. True. I'm not going to deny your reality of what you see. Okay. Because there are outside forces. So your observations are merited and warranted, like the reporting data, and we're going to get into that because a lot of that's off. What I want you to do is I want you to add the science, look at this. There is a patent that got updated for it. And if you understand this as, consider it the calculation brain of the product, because I want you to be able to not think, don't worry, I've got 15 days, 7 days, etc., etc. Because that's not the reality now. It gets faster. And I'm going to talk about it with Juana in another episode. The cold start, or what we call the honeymoon period, is weighted possibly more as a business decision. And I won't spoil it on that, but I'll break it down with Juana in one of the future episodes. So what do they need to remember here, Juana?
That magic is easy to sell as part of marketing. right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to science, that is the magic that you can actually measure.
Absolutely. And TikTok, you're always on the clock. Yesterday matters. Don't think about honeymoon periods and stuff today, tomorrow, or another day. Think about testing. And if you're on a spiral going down, remember it's clocking in the previous information, collecting new data, and then the Bayesian update. Hope you enjoyed the show. So until